Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to our TED Talk about the Virtual Environmental Challenge. As some of you may already know from the quarterfinals, our entry is the community garden at our campus. In the following slides, I would like to tell you more about it. So welcome to our university. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of the project, I would like to introduce the university and also our team. This project is being realized at the Maciej University in Banska Bystrica at the Faculty of Arts, more specifically at the Department of Roman Studies. We are very excited to be working on a European project, and it was a great learning experience for us to be a part of something like this. We are also overjoyed to be representing our school, and even though this is our first time participating, we hope we can interest you in what we've come up with. So let's meet the team. Our community garden has been brought to life by a team of 6 people, 5 students with the help of our professor. For a brief introduction, my name is Victoria, and I study translation and interpreting in English and in French. I worked on the garden with my friends Erika, Sashka, Henka, and Katka, who you can see on the pictures. Apart from Katka, none of us had a previous gardening experience, so you can imagine it was really fun to work on something like this together. Let's move on to how it all started. The very idea of VEC got to us thanks to our professor. We got together and started thinking of what project we could tackle. We knew we wanted other people to participate, so we were looking for an idea that would be interesting and also creative enough. After many hours spent brainstorming and discussing, we came to the conclusion that gardening could be very interesting for people our age who don't really have the same connection to nature people had, say, 20 years back. To be frank, nowadays, young people are glued to their phones and their devices, and we wanted to bring at least a little bit of nature back into their lives. Therefore, a community garden seemed like a pretty good idea. Our team picked out a convenient location for the garden with 2 goals in mind. First, to attract as many students as possible, and second, to pick a place with enough light coming in. The garden adds to the overall atmosphere at our university. We noticed the students often stop by and appreciate the view, especially now that some of our herbs actually started growing. As a fun challenge for ourselves, we made most of the materials in multiple languages, including English, French, and Slovak. We studied these, and we wanted to try to produce something in all 3 of them at the same time. So let's move on to the logistics of the project. Mainly about the place we picked out, the design and the herbs we chose. Our first real struggle was picking out a place. We had to consider many factors, just like we mentioned before, such as good natural light, the right temperature, the proper type of soil, and also the humidity, so it wouldn't be too dry for the plants. We decided to place everything in the interior of our school because the weather outside is not suitable for planting at this time of the year. It's too cold, and sometimes it even snows, but it's getting a bit better, so maybe we can move some plants outside. Concerning the design, we wanted to choose colors that are pleasant to the eye, not too contrasting, and not too light. Since it is a garden, we chose natural colors and designed the whole place in a minimalistic way. Choosing the herbs was probably the most enjoyable part of our brainstorming. After many hours, we came to an agreement and finally chose to plant dill, chives, basil, tomatoes, cayenne pepper, lavender, and finally hyacinth. Here is a little overview of the herbs. Let me describe them in a more specific way, very briefly. So dill is very sensitive to temperature, and spring is the best time for its planting, so it was kind of a challenge for us to plant it in January. It can be used as a companion plant since dill attracts many beneficial insects as the umbrella flower heads go to seed. Dill is now widely cultivated in Europe, India, and North America. The second one is chives. It is a commonly used herb and can be found in grocery stores or grown at home. It was our favorite to plant as it grows all year round. Its flowers are edible and can be used in salads, but the green stalks are used as an ingredient in the kitchen more often than the flowers. Chives have a wide variety of culinary uses in many countries. Then we have basil. It comes from the Latin basileus, meaning royal plant, possibly because the herb was believed to have been used in the production of royal perfumes. It is likewise sometimes referred to in French as la royale. Ancient Egyptians and ancient Greeks believed basil would open the gates of heaven for a person passing on. When planted next to tomatoes, it protects them from harmful insects thanks to its fragrance, which is exactly why we planted them next to our tomatoes. So let's move on to the neighbors of the basil, the tomatoes. They are edible berries and are consumed in diverse ways, raw or cooked in many dishes, sauces, salads, or even in some beverages. What may be of interest to you is that while many people consider them vegetables, they are actually botanically classified as berries, or in other words, fruits. They are widely grown in various climates across the world. Growing them in greenhouses allows their production through all seasons of the year, but a lot of people in Slovakia grow their own tomatoes. Next, we have the cayenne pepper. It is a small fruited type of pepper. Before maturing, it is green and it turns red as it matures. We use it for spices, which are made by grinding out the plant once it's dry. We picked it because the cayenne pepper is less picky than our other plants and grows all year round. These peppers are fantastic sources of antioxidants and other plant compounds that protect our cells and promote a healthy immune system. Thanks to these benefits, we can increase our metabolism and in doing so boost weight loss effects. Then we have lavender, which is a small evergreen shrub with purple flowers sparsely arranged on little spikes. Its fragrance is caused by the oil glands embedded among tiny star-shaped plant hairs. By distillation, we can obtain lavender oil from the flowers, which is a colorless or a yellow liquid and is used in fine perfumes and cosmetics, and it is very popular. The other type of oil, spike lavender oil, is distilled differently from a somewhat inferior type of lavender. And the last plant was the hyacinth. It is a plant with a lot of small, sweet-smelling flowers growing closely around a single stem. It grows from a bulb and the flowers are usually blue, pink, or white. Much like lavender, hyacinth also has a powerful scent. So let's move on to our second step, which was creating the logo and the poster. After we figured out the logistics, we started to work on the logo and the poster. We wanted to make sure they would grab everyone's attention, but we still used colors that match the idea of the project. So that means green, yellow, white, and brown, earthy colors that evoke nature. We also wanted to make sure that the logo is minimalistic, since it seems to be a trend today. We consulted the logo and the poster with our friends and other students. We wanted to make sure that even people we don't have the chance to invite to our project would notice these all around the school and perhaps be interested enough to visit the garden or maybe bring a plant or two themselves. Let's move on to the next step, which was the actual manual work. After choosing the location of the project and creating some materials, we finally went out to buy gardening tools, pots, seeds, and soil so we could finally start gardening. Let's talk about the manual work in more detail. First of all, we had to choose an appropriate pot for each plant. Some herbs could not be planted right next to each other, as they would be too fragrant, or perhaps their roots would clash and they would never grow properly and steal each other's space. Here you can see a picture of us working with the soil. We put a small name tag into each pot so we would remember what we planted later, and also so other students would know what they were looking at, since a lot of people participating were complete beginners. And of course, before the plant actually grows a little, you can't really tell just by looking at the seeds. The following step was watering the flowers regularly, and then the final step was placing them out at the chosen project location. We learned more and more with each step, and it was very entertaining to get our hands dirty, sometimes even literally, because we worked with soil a lot. We documented every step of the way, including the mistakes. We have included a lot of videos in our trailer, but unfortunately for time's sake, we cannot play it here, though if you'd like to see it, you know where to find it. Let's move on to the next step. To make other people interested in the project, we decided to create interactive materials. More specifically, the poster you've already seen, descriptions of chosen herbs in multiple languages like English, French, and Slovak, And on top of all of that, we posted photos and invitations on social media and our university website several times to make sure nobody would miss it. We also wrote an article, which is going to be published at our university's website. For descriptions of plans, we use small cards, which you can see on the pictures, to catch students' attention because too much text would turn them away rather than interest them. On these cards, we wrote only the most general information about the plants and interesting facts about their names, origin, and about planting. Basically the same information you could hear us talk about during the presentation. Again, we used the same colors as we were using the whole time, so everything would be nicely connected and coherent. Let's talk about how it's going. After a few weeks, we could see the first results springing up from the soil. So far, the dill and the hyacinth bloomed quite nicely. After those, the basil and the cayenne pepper started to appear. We are still waiting for tomatoes and chives to grow, but it will be some time before that happens because it's not really their season yet. We're sure they'll be just as cool to watch as the other ones though. Every week, our little garden seems to be greener and greener, and it makes us really happy to see it all come together. Some students have already brought their own plants to the garden, for example, mint and some succulents, which we are very proud of. It's very heartwarming to see our project take off. We have also talked to multiple teachers who were more than happy to participate and to help spread the word about the garden. And with this, we are reaching the end of our presentation. We would like to thank everyone for giving us this great opportunity to do something green for our school and to raise environmental consciousness in such a fun and engaging way. As we mentioned before, a few students already participated and they brought their own plants, and it really makes us happy that we can include others. We plan on keeping the garden up for as long as there is interest in it, and we hope we can perhaps find a bigger space for it on campus, or even expand it outside since the weather will be more pleasant in the summer months. Thank you for your attention.